Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and I've kept it up for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitance in your weight loss and maintenance. Today we're going to talk about what is the point. In other words, when you're having moments of despair and you have the thought in your head, what is the point? And I'm going to address that. You might see my dog over here over my right shoulder on the couch. Now, before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, especially from the psychological point of view, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also, check out my website, Naturopathic Earth, which has 600 articles and recipes. Check out my books and my podcast, The Awakened Man, which has a lot of useful health-related tips. And lastly, I mean, if you're watching this later than January of 2023, check out my courses, which I hope to develop relatively soon. All right, so what is the point? This is very common. And I talk about this, and this is one of the reasons why I did the Confessions of an Obese Child playlist and the Reflections of a Weight Loss Warrior playlist, because a lot of the feelings that you're going through or went through, I went through as well. And there's certainly times in my life that I was so morbidly overweight that there was no way I could ever lose the weight. I talk about it in Confessions number 19, the time where I tried to kill myself. And I was a cutter as well, because I saw the future when I was 17 as just dark and bleak. I was just gonna get fatter and fatter. My mom had to put baby powder on me because I would have rashes. I couldn't even wipe my butt. I mean, there was nothing in my future that would make me think that anything was gonna change. And so, of course, I had moments of despair, absolute despair. Like, what's my life gonna be like? I'm only gonna get fatter and be more ostracized and never have children or a family or any of these things. So I get it, totally. And you don't want to sublimate or push down these feelings. You do want to feel them. Now, you don't want to get mired in them because that can lead to very, very self-destructive behavior. But at the same time, you do want to acknowledge that you're feeling these things. I talked about it in one of the foundational episodes, one of the first 10 that I did. Every day is a new day to start afresh. Yes, yesterday you binged eat. Yes, yesterday you maybe did something that wasn't good. Today's a new day, like Annie says. The sun does come up. And we have to just kind of wipe away and eschew the past and start afresh. So when you're pondering, cogitating on the idea of what is the point, well, there's a lot of reasons why it would be beneficial to you to lose weight and tangentially to stop drinking alcohol, which I mention often here because alcohol and binge eating they have a lot of similarities, but also drinking a lot of alcohol leads to weight gain as well, more often than not always. I mean, you could look at Keith Richards and Mick Jagger and Steve Tyler, and these guys, of course, they're still skinny because they just don't eat. But what is the point? Well, the obvious one is your life expectancy. People who are obese have a shorter life expectancy and have a less quality of life. So I don't think that's a surprise. Now, we want you to be on this planet as long as possible. Average life expectancy is in the upper 70s. We want you to be here as long as possible and have a good quality of life. Now, the retort to that, of course, when you're in despair is, what is the point of me getting older if I'm just going to get fatter and more ugly, more disgusting, and hate myself and have more destructive behavior and be on this planet where I am subjugated to taunting and ridicule, or I'm just completely invisible to everybody? And I understand that, and I feel for you, and I can totally sympathize with that sentiment. And what I would tell you is, well, I mean, like a lot of things, we have choices. Our life is a series of choices. There are a lot of things that were chosen for you that were not your choice. I talk about that in the episode End the Intergenerational Obesity, where maybe your parents were the type that took you to Golden Corral at a very young age. You had parents that were the type that told you to finish and clean up your plate, and that it's rude if you don't, because it's either rude to your mother or all the starving kids in China, or whatever. You might have experienced sexual trauma, physical trauma that had you turn to food to numb the pain. Whatever it is, these were choices that were outside of your control. And I understand that. And there are things that made me have an irregular relationship with food that were outside of my control. But ultimately, we do make choices. We're created in the image and likeness of God. And what does that mean? And the imago Dei, as they say in Latin, is that we have an intellect and a will, volition. The act of thinking and making choices is volition. So we make the choice. So you can make a choice. Like I made the choice when I was 17, or others make the choice. Yes, if things continue, and what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same things and expecting different results. If things continue, yes, you likely will have more health problems, get prediabetes, diabetes, hypertension, heart attack, strokes, and or you will gain weight, and or you're going to have knee replacements and all these other problems. You might be wheelchair bound. Yes. But you do have a choice. We always have choices. This is what God gave us. God gave us the ability of free choice. He didn't make us automatons. We do have choice. The choices sometimes are hard, and we have a recent episode on that. Yes, weight loss is hard. But what is the alternative, guys? What is the alternative? Is the alternative of stewing in self-loathing and hatred toward yourself and toward others, or toward your parents? How is that beneficial to you on any level? Psychologically, physically, it's not. But you could do that, and that is the path of least resistance. Continue to do what you're doing now, mentally, and of course what you put in your mouth. That's the path of least resistance. Or you can say, I don't want this for me. There are people who have lost weight. There are people who've lost weight and kept it off. And celebrities, recent celebrities like Rebel Wilson, Adele, who've done this. It can be done. Despair is almost like a temptation from the devil, but it's also a useless temptation. It's a useless, I should say, feeling, because it doesn't lead to anything constructive. It doesn't lead to anything positive. Look at Judas and Peter from the Bible. You guys know I mention a lot of religious stuff because I'm a practicing Christian. Judas had the sin of despair. See, Judas betrayed Christ, but so did Peter. Peter denied him, but Peter didn't fall into despair and took his life. Peter asked Christ for forgiveness, realized he made a mistake, and then look what he did. He was the best, foremost apostle, and of course in the Catholic world, he's the first pope of 266 continuous popes. He's the rock. But you look at the difference. So Judas had despair, and he was fed on by that despair by the Jewish officials, and probably by the devil, who said, take your life, take your life. But in general, even if you're not religious, despair is a useless feeling. It's a useless feeling, and it's a counterproductive feeling. And yes, it's easy to get mired in it, but it doesn't help you. So what is the point? You didn't make the choices maybe that made you turn to food, but you make the choice every day to put that stuff in your mouth. Let's be honest. You do make that choice. We are responsible ultimately for what we put in our mouth. So the point is, you do want to have a life maybe where you want to have children, and you want to get married, and you want to be able not to have to go to big and tall stores or order clothes that never fit on Amazon. Maybe you don't want to be ridiculed. Maybe you want to have certain experiences like I talk about in the Confession series, how I couldn't go on roller coasters because they told me I was too fat, or you don't want to buy 2 airline seats like Kevin Smith, the director, was told to do because he was too fat for one. Maybe you don't want that. Then you can do something about it, guys. It's going to be hard, but you can do it. And look, today it's much easier to lose weight than it was 20, 25 years ago. You have bariatric surgery. There are problems with bariatric surgery, but it is a way to lose weight. You have fasting. These are 2 great biohacks. You can do it. But ultimately, it's got to be your decision and your will that chooses that. And I will tell you, that path is hard, but it will be rewarding. Even if you stumble a little here and there, or maybe you can't lose the weight, or maybe you're yo-yo dieting, yo-yo crashing, but at least you're trying. And there's going to be beauty that comes from that, and you'll feel good about yourself. Whereas if you just check out and you're eating Hot Pockets and playing video games, so to speak, and you're just going to get fatter and fatter, you're just going to have more self-loathing, and none of that is good, and certainly not good for people in your life who have to see you self-destruct and wither away your life because you don't have the fight in you. You do have the fight in you. You need to find the fight in you, because if not, things are just going to get worse and you're just going to hate yourself, and none of that is productive. And I don't want you to go down that road. I don't want you to have a shorter life expectancy. I don't want you to have bad relationships or no relationships with people in your life. None of that is good for you. So guys, look in the mirror, do the deep work, and make the decision. What is the point? There's a lot of points. There's a lot of reasons for you to begin your weight loss journey, and you can do it. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.